18 banks face prosecution for fixing the price of the rand. The Hawks and the police are accused of competing for the spoils of large drug hauls. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Tutuzile Ramela.
Hi, I'm Kate Nokwe.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
You can also track our main stories using the following hashtags: IPID and SONA Debate.
Get this, 17 local and international banks are going to be prosecuted by the Competition Tribunal. That's after the Commission found that they were involved in widespread collusion to fix the price of the rand. The Commission has been investigating corrupt trading activities. Among other things, it found that the banks had agreements to collude on the rand-dollar exchange rate. The probe has been going on since April 2015. The Commission found that the banks colluded from at least 2007. The Competition Commission wants the banks to pay a penalty equal to 10% of their annual turnover. Now, some of the banks implicated are ABSA, Standard Bank, Barclays and HSBC. The Hawks and police compete for large drug hauls smuggled into OR Tambo International Airport. That's just one of the shocking claims made by the police watchdog. Independent Police Investigative Directorate boss Robert McBride and his team appeared before the Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee today.
Disbelief as the IPID drops this bombshell during a briefing to Parliament's Police Portfolio Committee.
It would appear that there is a sort of a war to who will get to the drugs first. What is appealing about the situation is that those drug mules who brings the drugs into the country, they are never arrested. Only the drugs are taken. And once the drugs are taken, there is an issue of the value of the drugs that is actually accounted for.
And there were more disturbing details of the modus operandi.
Drugs, for instance, would come from the international arrival, but they will be moved by these members with the assistance of some of the contractors within the airport, moved out to the domestic, and they come out as if they come from domestic.
And there was more.
It also related to drugs where members of the SAPS would target foreign nationals and then demand cash from them. And if they don't get their way with cash from them, they take them to their residence. And when they get drugs at their residence, they take those drugs, and then those drugs do not end up at the SAP 13. They go back to the streets.
Committee members were in shock.
Some of the information is quite shocking, to say the least. But it reminds me about what was happening in Bogota, in Colombia, about the drugs and syndicates operation.
The IPID is back in Parliament next month. Bonga Dulane, Parliament.
ANC MPs came to President Jacob Zuma's defense today. Opposition parties spent a second day debating the State of the Nation address by attacking his time in office. And they covered everything from his relationship with the Gupta family to the state of public-owned enterprises.
Opposition MPs wasted no time.
The Honourable Minister in the Presidency said that we must find our moral compass. I agree. But who is the needle of this moral compass? The needle of the moral compass is none other than the #1 citizen of South Africa, the President, Mr. Zuma. So at least that it is an admittance that the President has lost its moral compass.
While the Congress of the People says it doesn't acknowledge Zuma as a legitimate president, its solution is to call for Parliament to be dissolved and fresh elections held.
COPE is not prepared to legitimise the continued occupation of the office of a president by Mr. Zuma, and we will accordingly not respond directly to his address.
But the president wasn't on his own. ANC MPs sprung to his defence.
Mr. Zuma, you have caused enough pain and suffering to our people.
Point of order.
You have lost the moral authority to rule over our people.
Point of order. This Zumaphobia is actually detracting us because we keep on talking about the president and not addressing the relevant debate of the state of the nation.
Honourable member, wait, I'm talking, man.
President Jacob Zuma takes to the podium tomorrow, where he'll respond to the debate on his State of the Nation address. Lester Kivet, Parliament.
The Tshwane University of Technology's main campus has been shut down over a lack of accommodation. Students say the university's management hasn't offered them safe and suitable residences. TUT management has met with students over their concerns. However, they say financial constraints mean they're unable to make drastic improvements.
Dousing flames set by students. Evidence of an early morning rampage. This time, students are fuming about the lack of university residences.
TUT only accommodates 22%. It's not even half. So, and you'll understand that accommodation is more expensive. Before we call for free education, we want residences.
The students say management has failed to offer them decent and safe housing. Students are alleging that off-campus residences like this one are overcrowded. This, they believe, can be a breeding ground for disruptive behavior that could adversely affect academic activities.
It's a squatter camp. At least 500 is allowed so that there will be a proper coordination. If there are more than 1,000, it's a crisis. And we also see danger because our students already, they started to fight there because there are many.
But management says finances are at the center of the problem.
When we get money, we try to actually put more accommodation. But to say everybody must be on campus is near impossible. But our wish is if all of our students could be in their residence, because now when they are in residence, actually they start better. They are able to sit together and have to do discussion. But financially, we can't afford it.
We want things to be better.
Students include on their list of demands insufficient Wi-Fi connectivity, funding for textbooks, for those on student loans, and inadequate allowances.
To us, it becomes unreasonable that you can give students a meal allowance of 660 per month.
TUT management has condemned the acts of violence and disruption. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
The Independent Communications Authority of South Africa has turned down ETV's application to move its English news bulletin from primetime. The authority says it based its decision on the public hearings in which both ETV and the SABC participated. ETV had applied to amend its license, allowing it to move the bulletin to another time slot. ICASA argues this would not be in the public's interest, as the terrestrial channel is the only free-to-air news broadcaster besides the SABC. ETV says it's disappointed that its application has been refused. Now, those responsible for the deaths of initiates will be brought to book. The Commission for the Promotion and Protection of Rights of Cultural Communities has launched an investigation into the matter. It's promised that anyone found guilty will face criminal charges. The Commission says over 200 initiates have died in the past 3 years alone.
Horrific tales from young men in the Eastern Cape. Their penises were amputated after undergoing botched circumcision in 2014. Stories like these have prompted the authorities to investigate initiation schools. The CRL Rights Commission has found that 251 young men lost their lives over the past 3 years. 199 of those deaths are in the Eastern Cape. The Commission says the deaths were unnecessary.
We cannot keep quiet anymore and say we're solving the problem. The problem needs to be solved urgently. These are unnecessary deaths. These are not people who are unwell. These are people who are as fit as a fiddle, who have their whole future in front of them.
The Commission will visit 8 areas around the country starting next month. It hopes to complete a 3-month probe working with the Department of Health, the NPA and traditional leaders. The Commission says it wants to ensure the right to life of young men is protected in line with the Constitution. It also says the practice of initiation needs to be defended and afforded the dignity it deserves. Zikhona Tshona, Johannesburg.
Let's head to Kenya now, where the appeals court has ordered that members of the National Doctors Union be released from prison. This is to allow wage talks between the country's doctors and the government to continue. The doctors downed tools in December, crippling Kenya's public health sector. Doctors say the government must make good on a 2013 wage deal, which promised drastic salary increases and improved working conditions. Pupils from Mdeni Secondary School in the Eastern Cape held their lessons on a main road today. They say the Alice School's mud structures are unsafe. Pupils staged the peaceful protest to make a point to authorities about their poor learning conditions. And tropical cyclone Dineo has started affecting some parts of Mozambique. Several videos have already been posted on YouTube. They show extremely windy weather, rain and large swells. The country is expecting Dineo to make landfall at speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour. A reminder, if you've missed any of the stories we're tracking for you tonight, you can of course find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct. Or you can head on over to our website. That's eNCA.com/direct. Your business news and your weather details after this. South African Airways is set to take another massive financial hit. The South Gauteng High Court has ordered the airline to pay competitor ComAir more than R1 billion. In the early 2000s, ComAir accused SAA of incentivizing travel agents to sell its products over those of its competitors. The Competition Commission intervened and a settlement was reached in 2006. Now, in spite of this, ComAir kept pushing for legal action. The incentive scheme has now been found to be anti-competitive. Let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center. Here's Candice.
Need instant cash? Take a look on the bright side. Get a Cash Converters Sunny Day Mini Loan from 400 to 4,000 Rand, only at Cash Converters.
Tropical cyclone Dineo, with sustained wind speeds of 130 kilometers per hour, makes landfall over the southern part of Mozambique on Wednesday night. You'll see that its path takes it towards South Africa at the end of the week, and although it starts to weaken as it heads overland, we're still expecting cloudy, wet and very windy conditions, especially into the Lowveld, and that will be from Thursday night. On Thursday morning, we're expecting some fog along the west coast, as well as some morning drizzle along the southwestern coastline. Isolated thundershowers extend from the northern Cape through to the southeastern and eastern interior, with a slight possibility of thundershowers as we head towards Gauteng, and then that storm brings in cloudy and wet weather mainly over the eastern part of Mpumalanga and Limpopo from Thursday night. In KwaZulu-Natal, we can expect another warm day with highs of around 30 degrees. You'll see isolated thundershowers throughout the province, except over the southeastern part where we have a slight dry patch. Isolated thundershowers are expected throughout the Eastern Cape with a hot Thursday in store, especially over the interior, with maximum temperatures temperatures in the middle and upper 30s. Partly cloudy and warm along the Western Cape coastline, other than some morning light rain for Cape Town and Langban at 26. Still hot over the interior, and then we're forecasting some morning fog along the Northern Cape coastline with isolated thundershowers over the eastern part of the province. There'll be a slight chance of thundershowers into the Free State, Bloemfontein and Volcom at 33 degrees. A similar day for the northwest on Thursday with hot weather and a slight possibility of thundershowers. And we're also expecting a few thundershowers through to Limpopo with maximum temperatures in the upper 20s and low 30s. But we'll see the effects of tropical cyclone Dineo over the eastern part of Mpumalanga and Limpopo from Thursday night with windy and cloudy weather and of course a watch for heavy rainfall. We're forecasting a slight possibility of thundershowers for Gauteng on Thursday, Pretoria topping 33 degrees. Cloudy and wet weather continues over parts of Mpumalanga and Limpopo on Friday with that watch for heavy rainfall. It'll be a very windy day in the northeast on Friday with thundershowers all the way through to the central interior, and by Saturday we're expecting wet weather across South Africa except where we need it most in Cape Town at 25. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a good night.
Brighten your day with a Cash Converters Sunny Day mini loan. Come in store and we'll put instant cash right in your pocket. Only at Cash Converters.
Thank you, Candice. After the break, Black History Month is commemorated on stage. February is Black History Month.
And to commemorate, the Market Theatre is showcasing the meeting.
The powerful production focuses on two icons who shaped history.
The play reimagines the past with a focus on civil rights champions Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X.
Two black political icons who shaped the civil rights movement in the United States, fighting for what they stood for. If these two could meet in a hotel room, what would they say to each other?
Well, I asked him to come and he said he wouldn't. He never asked why.
Well, how do you know he's coming? Malcolm, what makes you think these people will just let him get on a plane and come here?
He'll come.
How do you know?
Because I'd come if he'd asked me.
Well, award-winning US playwright Jeff Stetson wrote an imaginary conversation of the two greats in a production called The Meeting.
It really began out of a sense of teaching young people who didn't know anything about the civil rights movement, and to think about that struggle, the sacrifices that were made, and whether or not the cost was worth it in every event.
Issues and discussions tabled by Malcolm X and King also seem to have struck a chord within the essay context.
Both of them were living in such hectic times, and when you think that both of them died at 39, you know, we talk about Steve Biko, who was so young when he died. And so this, for me, again, talking about how we link ourselves with narrative from the African diaspora, from the continent, I feel very strongly as an artistic director that we have to program shows like this at the Market.
While the Market Theatre showcases the production on its stages for the month, the US playwright intends to flesh out the production into a novel. Nantebeko Sbisi, Johannesburg.
A reminder of your top stories before we say goodbye. 17 banks face prosecution for fixing the price of the rand. The Hawks and the police are accused of competing for the spoils of large drug hauls. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team. Your favorite drama, Rhythm City, is coming up next.
To share your views, you can send us an email at enewsdirect@etv.co.za or chat to us via Twitter and Facebook accounts. We're at eNews Direct.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.